Okay, so I'm going to go through the second comprehension, decimals, NVR, and VR. If we just go straight to the second comprehension, and I'm just going to start reading it, and go through each question, show you how I think about it. Hopefully it's useful. Okay. Okay, so first is talking about other people. Other people seem to believe that it's beneficial to learn a second language. Then he seems to be backing up that point when knowing two languages makes it easy to travel to foreign countries, communicate with people from other cultures, and conduct. Sort of giving a list of benefits, and this seems to just be backing up the first point. Even if you do not learn to speak another language fluently, studying a language is a useful academic exercise because it's another point, and then he's backing it up again. Okay, so we've already read half of the comprehension. I'm just going to move on to the questions and see if we can answer any of them just yet. So the author apparently believes that Latin is... Okay, it seems like we can't answer that one. Based on information in paragraph 1, it can be understood that the word beneficial belongs to which of the following groups? Oh, let me find that. People believe that it is beneficial to learn a second language. There's not much you can do there apart from know what the word means. Actually, you can try the options as well. So you can think if it meant healthy, it wouldn't really make sense, because why would it be healthy to learn another language? Wise to learn another language, that could work. Common, that doesn't sound very... It doesn't seem to fit the passage, and then you're kind of left with wise or advantageous. Most of you will know what beneficial means, so it's going to be C. Based on information in the passage, it can be understood that a dead language is a language that is. Okay, there is no... We haven't got to that point yet, so let's just carry on reading. Some people choose that. Okay, there we go. Dead language. Latin has not been spoken for over 1,000 years. Okay, well, it kind of explains what a dead language is. It's something that hasn't been spoken for over 1,000 years. Okay, so over 1,000 years old. I think a lot of people thought it might be that. Not spoken anymore. Useful for learning modern vocabulary. Doesn't seem to match what we're saying. The basis for other languages. It's not really part of the explanation for what a dead language is. Has not been. Okay, so it's either going to be 1,000 years old or not spoken anymore. What I'd say is Latin is a language that has not been spoken for over 1,000 years. And I think that's the main thing that is making it a dead language, because that's what the subject of the sentence is. It's not talking about Latin being 1,000 years old. It's saying that it's not spoken. It hasn't been spoken for 1,000 years. So this one would actually match it more, mainly because it means, if you think about a dead language doesn't have to be 1,000 years old. This is just something that they're using to explain why it's a dead language, is because it hasn't been spoken for over 1,000 years. So if he said it hadn't been spoken for over 100 years, it would still be a dead language. So it's not a... So you just have to be careful with those ones where they try and trip you up. Maybe we can figure out 21. So the author apparently believes that Latin is completely useless as a second language. We haven't got that, okay. Different countries offer courses in Latin. Some argue that Latin can help English speakers build their vocabulary. Okay, that's one reason. Since English words are derived from Latin, Latin is also the basis of modern Romance languages. It's easier to learn Italian and Spanish. I don't see the author's point of view here yet, though, because he's saying some. Nonetheless, if you choose to study a language that no one speaks anymore, so he's referring to Latin here, many of the practical advantages of learning a second language are erased. Okay, so it's saying practical advantages are erased. If you think about that, he's saying the advantages are no longer there. They're getting erased. Okay, so that would basically come down to meaning that there is no advantage to speaking Latin. So this means you should think carefully about which language you choose to learn. So actually it's going back to the fact that the paragraph or the passage started off talking about second languages. Even the title actually says that, and then Latin comes in afterwards. Okay, so the author believes that it's completely useless as a second language, less useful than spoken languages, useful for English speakers but no one else. We can cancel that out because it doesn't seem to be anywhere here, and that's only about some people. And we can also see that he's just given evidences about how it's useful for other things. So more useful than other Den languages such as ancient Greek, that's nowhere in the text. Completely useless as a second language, or less useful than spoken languages. I think it's quite unlikely that he thinks it's completely useless, because he's listed quite a few benefits. Where did he list benefits? Oh, he listed a few here. It helps them build vocabulary, and it makes it easier to learn other languages like Italian and Spanish. But then he concludes with the fact that many of the practical advantages are erased. Okay, so he's not saying there's no advantages, he's just saying most of them are gone, most of them are taken away. So that would leave you with B, which is less useful than other languages. You can sort of understand that from this sentence as well, where he's saying, sorry, I'm highlighting the wrong one. Oh no, yeah, nonetheless, if you choose to study a language this one, you should think more carefully about which language you choose. So he's kind of hinting at the fact that other languages are more useful. So leave you with B. Okay, someone who knows Latin will likely be able to. I can already assume that it's going to talk about a lot of the benefits. So there's concentration and logical thinking. Easier to communicate, it seems. Yeah, communicate with other people. And then there was also vocabulary and Italian and Spanish. Okay, concentration, it said logic. Yep, logic, so that's going to be it. Learn Spanish easier. Yep. Communicate with foreigners. Yeah, that's going to be all of them. D. Okay. So according to the author, Latin can be helpful for English speakers because it is the basis for all modern Romance languages. Nope. That came afterwards, didn't it? Yeah, it's in the next sentence, so ignore that. And hopefully you can see that how many times you should be going back to the text as soon as you come across a question. You can't rely on your memory, because that's the only way you make mistakes, really. Yeah, English comprehension. Really, if you have unlimited time on this, you should be able to get 100%, because every answer is in the text. So it's not like there's something you need to know to get these answers right. So nope, that's wrong. A way to conduct international business. That was nowhere in the text. Taught in schools in many different countries. That was nowhere. There we go. Build vocabulary. And I think I remember that being here. There you go. Just circle it again. Okay, 26. As used in paragraph 2, something that is derived must. Okay, let's go back to that bold sentence, bold word. So, since many English. Okay, so let's read around the whole sentence instead of just this. It says, nevertheless, Schools in many different countries offer courses in Latin. Some argue that Latin can help English speakers build their vocabulary. So that's the subject of the sentence. That Latin can help build English vocabulary. And then he seems to be proving that point with the fact that many English words are derived from Latin. Okay, so we have to think, if it's derived from Latin, and it's the fact that it's derived from Latin is making it easier to build your vocabulary, boosting your vocabulary. We can sort of guess at what derived means. So come before something else. If English came before Latin, that wouldn't really help them, because it would have no relation to Latin. Come from something else, that kind of makes sense. Be the same as something else. If English was the same as Latin, it would definitely help boost your vocabulary, but it doesn't make logical sense. If English replaced something else from Latin, or if English replaced Latin, again, that just doesn't really make sense. So we can find out that it means be. English came from Latin. And you can sort of actually understand that here as well, because it says Latin is also the basis of all modern languages, modern Romance languages. It's sort of the same idea there with Italian and Spanish is coming from Latin. It's the basis. Okay, the main purpose of this passage is to educate the reader about advantages and disadvantages of learning a second language. That's interesting. Explain that although learning Latin has advantages, it's less useful. Now, the concluding paragraph was about that, so I think there's a good chance it could be B. Highlight the reasons why some people think learning Latin is a good idea. The main reason why I wouldn't go with C is because, yes, it does that in the first bit. Some people choose to learn Latin. It keeps doing that, but then the concluding paragraph is just nothing to do with highlighting the reasons. So I wouldn't really go with that, actually, because the author's intent just doesn't seem to be there. And it's asking about the main purpose of the passage. If you think about that, it means it's trying to ask you, why do you think this person has written this? And if you think, if the only place he's giving his opinion is in this last paragraph, and that's probably the reason why he's written it. So, argue against the continuation of teaching Latin in schools around the world. That was nowhere in the passage. So we're left with two of them. Educate the reader about advantages and disadvantages of learning a second language, and explain that although learning Latin has advantages, it is a less useful choice. So obviously I'm leaning towards B a bit more, because that's what the concluding paragraph is talking about. But this one seems to be, a lot of people might go for it, because most of the passage is actually doing that. It's actually explaining these advantages and disadvantages. But this is only talking about learning a second language, whereas you can see in the title of the thing, which is again another thing that you can find useful, is it's talking about Latin as a second language. It's a big clue that the passage isn't just about second languages. So I'd cross that one out and I'd go with B, solely because the focus is Latin and his concluding opinions are that it's not very useful. And if you can just understand the structure of it, you can think, this is what he's done. He's explained that Latin has advantages through the first two paragraphs, and then he kind of explains why he doesn't think it's very useful to learn. So yeah, that's the comprehension done. 1445, and now let's go on to the maths. Okay, so decimal problem solving workshop. Really, actually, you shouldn't watch this video if you're stuck on any of these. What you should do, like I showed you in the technique guidance video, is first circle the ones that you think you got wrong, and then try and solve them yourself. And you can use that. You can use the decimals playlist on the same channel. You can just click on the YouTube channel, and you'll find a decimal playlist, which is everything that your teachers were teaching you in class. You know, those 10 topics that you were learning in class. It's just in video format, and you should be able to use that to solve all of these. There shouldn't be a single one that you're stuck on, really. But I'm still just going to go through them now. If in case you've done that already, you've looked at the videos and you still don't know how to do it. So let's go to question 61. Write these decimals in order from smallest first, assuming to the largest at the end. Okay, so first of all, we have to figure out which of these numbers is the smallest. And some people will be able to spot it immediately. It's basically whichever number has the lowest number after the decimal point. But I'll just make it easier for you. How you can think about it is make all of the numbers have the same number of digits. So obviously the longest number has 3.333, that's four digits. Oops. And then we just list them out. So 3.3, 3.42, 3.33. And we just add zeros to make them all have the same number of digits. And now we can ignore the decimal point here. Oh dear. Let's ignore the decimal point. And so I'll just treat them as big numbers, 3000s. And you should be able to solve out, figure out which one's the biggest. Obviously 3030 is smaller than 3420. So that's going to be at the start. So let's find an option that has that at the start. We can cross out B. What's going to be next is 3300, and then 3333. So it's 30 and then 33. So okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's just look at which options match that. 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Bosh. And what we could actually have done is just find the biggest and see which option has it at the end. Obviously this one has it in the middle, so it can't be A. So there we go, it's C. Okay, the quick cafe menu is shown on the right. Mrs. White buys a bacon roll and a tea from the quick cafe. So obviously you're just going to add them together. £1.45 plus 75p. These are two different units, so we can't do that. You have to convert 75p into pounds. Sorry. And 75p is, if you think about 50p, is 0.5 pounds, like that, 0.50. Obviously £1 is 100 pence. A lot of you will be able to figure this out immediately and understand what 75p is in pounds, but just to go through it as thoroughly as possible. So what you do from here to here is, what you do from here to here is you just divide it by 100. So you just do that to the here as well, and you'll get that. So if we divide 75 by 100, as you would know, when you're doing your division by tens, hundreds, thousands, all you have to do is move the decimal point 1, 2, because it's 2 zeros, and you're going to get £0.75, which is that, and then you can just add these together, and you get 5 plus 5 is 10, 7 plus 4 is 11, plus 1 is 12. Bring the decimal point down as well, and then 1 plus 1 is 2. So there we go, £2.20 is your answer for 62. Now let's do question 63. Let me rub out everything. Mr. Brown stopped for a snack at the Quick Cafe and spent exactly £3.55. Which items did he buy? Circle the answers. Okay. So £3.55. We have to figure out which of these items add up to £3.55. So let's take a quick look and try and kind of guesstimate it first. So obviously we're going to need two of the big ones, so £1.85 and £1.45. Let's try that. Let's see if he buys a bacon roll and a full breakfast. Actually, you can tell that won't be. Let's try it. 1.45 and £1.85. Let's add them together. So you get 10. 5 plus 8. 13. Oh, plus the 1 will be 14. Oh no, I already added the 1. Sorry. 13. 1, 3. So it's £3.30. Okay, so it can't be A because it can't be just a bacon roll and full breakfast. And if we add any of these on to the bacon roll and the full breakfast, it'll go way over £3.55. So it can't be that combination. Full breakfast, toast and jam, tea. Okay. Well, full breakfast plus toast and jam is going to be £2 and 15 pence. And if we add the tea to that, tea is only 75p. That's going to be £2 and 90 pence. That's not enough. Full breakfast, coffee. That's you can tell that's nowhere near enough. Bacon roll, toast and jam, coffee. You know what, actually? Then the last option is full breakfast and tea, which is again too small, so we're just gonna go with D. And you don't actually have to calculate it. Saves you a bit of time, especially during an exam. Okay, let's go to question 64. How much is 7.2 greater than 0.9? Okay, so how much bigger is 7.2 compared to 0.9? If you just think about, basically, how much do you have to add to this to get to 7.2? And you can just think about it in terms of addition. So you can add 0.1, which will get you to 1, which will get this to 1, and then you can add another 7, which will get you to 7. And you can add another 0.2, and that will get you to 7.2. And then if you total all of this, it's going to be 7. Oops, sorry, not 7. It'll be 6. 6 to get to 7. So that's going to be 6.3. So you added 6.3 to 0.9, and you got 7.2. But it might just be easier to think about it with subtraction, which will be something like this, I'm pretty sure, and you just solve it to get the same answer. I don't know why I've done that, sorry. Yep, there you go. Yeah, 6.3 basically. So 6.3, that is your answer. And let's go on to question 65. Write 0.84 as a common fraction in its lowest terms. This you should know with or if you look at one of the videos, or if you remember what you got taught in class. So, common fraction in its lowest terms. So if you think about this as a fraction, any whole number as a fraction is 1 over 1, yeah? Because let's say, for example, 2 as a fraction is just 2 over 1. 5 as a fraction is 5 over 1. 5.5 as a fraction is 5.5 over 1. So if you ever need to convert a whole number to a fraction, just put it over 1. And now all we have to do is make sure they are equivalent, make sure it's bigger, right? So do what you did with equivalent fractions. You times this one by 100, so you get 100 at the bottom, and times this one by 100, and you're going to get 840 at the top. Not 840, sorry, 84. And now we can just simplify that and find what number goes into both of them. What number goes into both of them, which is, let's go with 2. You're going to get 42 over 50. And then let's do that again. 2 goes into both of them again. You're going to get 21 over 25. And that's number C. Option C. There we go. For the last year, I'm just going to check. I'm going to go through the ones that likely were the most difficult, and because most of these, like I've just shown you, you can solve by looking at our decimals playlist and working it out from there, and actually that will be more beneficial for you, meaning obviously you're going to actually learn the decimals better and you're going to remember them better, meaning you're going to get higher grades in the mock exams, meaning you're going to have to do less work at home as you get better, which is why it's important to take the advice and try and improve your grades, because I mean that's the main reason you're even doing homework in the first place. So let me just pull up and figure out which ones people seem to have struggled with. Some of the maths questions. Question 68. Okay. 69. The Swift grade is quite slow. Okay. 66 as well, people struggled with. Okay, I'll go through that. And 77, 78, 83, and 84. Okay, I'm going to go through all of these questions, and the rest of them work out yourself. And really, these ones you can definitely work out yourself as well. So I'm going to do it quickly. What you have to do is line up the decimal points, and then you just do normal addition, fill in obviously with zeros here. So 1, 9, 13, and that's 11, that's 4, and there is your answer. And for this one, what we can do is first ignore this side and just do 0.2 times 0.2. Most of you will know how to do that. Once we get the result for this, we'll just times that by 0.2 again. Okay, so let's figure out this and then feed it in. So 0.2, 0.2, times them. 2 times 2 is 4. Oh, 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 2 is... oh, we put a magic 0 here. 2 times 2 is 4. 2... oh, oops. 0 times 2 is 0, and 0 times 0 is 0. So we are left with 004. And then, because it's a decimal question, we have to count how many how many numbers are behind decimal point. So there's one number behind decimal point here, and one number behind the decimal point here. Gives us a total of 2 numbers behind the decimal point. So let's just put a decimal point here, because there's 2 numbers behind the decimal point. So that's going to be your answer, 0.04. That's going to get fed into here. So that's the answer to this, obviously, and then we just have to times it by 0.2 again. So I'm just going to rub it out, and I'm going to write it in 0.04 times, times 0.2. And let's do that same thing again, and just times them. So 2 times 4 is 8, and then 0, 0, 2 times 0 times 4, 0, 0, 0. And let's just fill these in. This time, it seems there are 3 numbers behind the decimal point. So we're going to do 3 numbers behind the decimal point. And there we go, 0.008. That's your answer to 69. And let's go on to 77. Actually, sorry. I'm getting all over the place. Question 66. I forgot to do that. So he posts 4 parcels weighing 24.5 kilograms. 16.2 was total weight of these parcels. Okay, so you should be able to tell that this is adding the parcels together because it's a total. So again, like before, you just have to line up the decimal points. So 5.4, 6.25, 6.25. This vacuum cleaner is getting in the way. We can always fill in with zeros, and let's just add it now. 5. 5 plus 2 is 7, plus 4 is 11, plus 2 is 13. 5 plus 6 is 11, plus 5 is 16, plus 6 is 22. And then 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 52.35, and you put the decimal point there. And that's your answer to 66. Yeah, most people got that wrong because they wrote in kg into the answer sheet. They should have got that right, to be fair. Someone put 52.352. I don't know how they got that, though. But okay, let's go on to question 77. 203.5. Okay, on Tuesday 50 adults and 80 children went into a swimming pool. How much money did the swimming pool take on Tuesday? Okay, so it's obviously talking about the question before it. Okay, so there's 50 adults. All of them are at £2.30, which have to times them. And 80 children, we have to times them. That's going to give you how much money they've made from each of them, and you just add them together. So let's figure out how much money they made from £2.30. I'm going to show you a quick way of doing it. You can times it by 100 instead of by 50. To times by 100, you just move the decimal point 2 places. You can get 230. And then you half it to get what 50 would have been. So that's going to be £115 from all the adults. And for this one, let's do 80 times 1.95. 5 times 8 is 40. 9 times 0 is 0. 9 times 8 is 72. And then 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 8 is 8. Okay, now let's add these. Sorry. 6 and 7 plus 8, 15. So yeah, and then we have to figure out the number of decimal points. So there's 2 here, so 1, 2, there you go. And now we've got 156.0 pounds and also 115 pounds. And we just add them together. And what we're going to get is 271 pounds. Obviously you can add them as normal, you should know how to do that. Okay. So question 78. Let me just delete all of that. Bosh. 3.24 times 52 is equal to 168.48. What is 3.2 times 5.2? Okay. So obviously you can work that out normally if you want, but you should really use the information they've given you. And because these are the same numbers, just do the decimal points in different places. And what you can see is this one has been times by 10, and this one has been divided by 10, sorry. And that's actually gonna cancel each other out. And what you are going to end up with is the exact same answer. Mainly because what you're doing to this is you're timesing by 10 and then dividing by 10. So what you're going to do to the answer is the same thing. You're going to times it by 10 and then divide it by 10. And what you'll know is if you times it by 10, you move the decimal point one place to the right, and if you divide it by 10, you move it back to the left. So you're just going to get given the exact same answer. So, yep, that's your answer. Where else? Question 83. What must be added to 37.4 to equal 50? We can do the same thing here. Like, we did above. So if you add 0.6 to it, you're going to get to 38. And then if you add 22 to it, you can get to 50. So it's just going to be 22.6 is the difference. So that's what your answer is going to be. Sorry, my bad. 12. There you go. 12. Okay, let's go on to question 84. People pay a visit to a garden. 145 people pay. 39 of them are under 16. Just got to do 145 times 16 times the price. Oh no, 39 of them are under 16. Okay, let's figure out how many are over 16. It's going to be 145 minus 39, which is 106. And that's how many are over 16. So if you times that by 3.60, And then we also have to add times the under 16s, which is 39 times £2.25. And then we just obviously add them together. And as you remember with timesing, you times normally, ignoring the decimal point. And then for the answer you put in how many decimal points there are. So there's 2 decimal points, 2 numbers behind the decimal point. So the answer is going to have 2 numbers behind their decimal point. And what you're actually going to find is going to be 38160. Obviously, if you just put two numbers behind the decimal point, you can get 381.6. That's how many pounds you get from the first one. And then if you do the same thing to the next one, 2.25, and solve that normally, you're going to get 8775. 2 numbers behind the decimal point, so it's going to be 87.75 pounds. And then you can add these together. So you're going to add 87.75 to 381.6, keeping the decimal points in the same place, and you're going to get 469.25 pounds. Let me just check that with the answer. 3.5, sorry. There you go. Okay, that is all of the maths, or at least the difficult maths, all done. I might as well go through the last question as well. A pack of 10 pens costs £2.70. A box of pens containing 100 packs. Contains 100 packs. Mrs. Chapman buys 10 boxes of pens. How much does this cost? So, in a box there are obviously 100 pens, which means 10 lots of these. So there's going to be 10. One box is obviously going to cost £10 times £2.70. 10 times £2.70, which is £27. So that's one box. And obviously he's buying 10 boxes, so it's going to be £270 to buy 10 boxes, which is going to be 1,000 pens, so, which is a lot of pens. Let me just double check that with the answer as well. I think the answer scheme is wrong. Yep, your final answer should be 270. I'll try and change that on SwiftGrade if it matters to you. Okay. 44 minutes in, and it's time for some NVR. There's actually a lot of optional work as well. None of the maths is optional. Okay, go through all the NVR. Analogy. Always look for a change between between two of them, yep. So try and go one change at a time. First look at what changed. I mean, just break it down into steps. So let's think of this. This is rotated this way. That's change 1. Change 2 is that there seems to be an addition of a new object, which is the same thing, but like the opposite, like a reflected object with different colors. Let's not focus on that for now. Let's first rotate it. So let's rotate this. It's going to look like this, and then we can cancel some of them out. So C doesn't have it in the right place, D doesn't have the right colors, and E also doesn't have it in the right place. We're left with 2, and all we need now we know is the second change is that obviously it's the reflection one, but it's also with the swapped colors, so it's going to be B. This one, this is copy pasted basically, but made vertical. So bosh, 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 bosh. Sorry, that's change 2. Change 1 is that it actually stays the same. So let's look for one that has this shape and cancel any of them that don't. A doesn't have the shape. C does, you can see it here. D does, and E also does, but it's also just behind it. B doesn't. Okay, so we're left with 3 options. And what we can see is the lines are supposed to go through each other. So it's going to be option C. I'm going to go through again. I'm going to pick the ones that have the most wrong answers and then go through those, and assuming the rest of them you'll be able to figure out. So, question 89. Change 1 is that it rotates. Okay, so let's look for one that rotates to the right. So this is going to rotate to the right, so it's going to be a square and a square. Like that. Okay, we can cancel these 2 out. Change 2 is that it gets smaller, so we can cancel E out because it hasn't gotten smaller. Change 3, or similarity 3, because sometimes we want to look at what hasn't changed, is that the pattern stays the same direction. So let's look for which one has the pattern with the same direction. You can see if you rotate this, it should actually have the pattern like this, because that's gonna be rotated. So C can't be it, so it's D. Bosh. Okay, there's quite a few. So 91 to 95, a lot of people struggled with, so we're going to go through all of these ones. Again, first change is that this is rotated by quite a bit actually. I wouldn't know how much specifically, but it's definitely rotated like a lot to the right. So rotate. So let's rotate this one a lot to the right. Try and figure out which one it can be. Can't be D because there's none that is, it's not rotated. I mean, there's no white triangle. E is sort of rotated to the left, and so is A. So we're left with B and C. Okay. What's the next change? It's that there's a black shape added. That is the exact same as the new rotated one, so that's change 2. So there should be a black shape that looks the same and is the same rotation as the previous one, as the new one. These two are reflected at an angle, so it can't be that, so you're left with C. So question 92. Change 1 is that it's rotated to the right, and change, okay, no, let's apply change 1 first. So we rotate it to the right, okay, all of them are rotated to the right. Okay, change 2 is that this big circle gets smaller. So let's cancel some of these. This one is the same, this one's the same. Change, I mean, it also says there's the same color, so we can cancel out D. Change 3 is that this black outline is thicker now, so we can cancel out B, and we're left with A. Question 93. Okay. Oh, at first glance it looks like it's just two completely different shapes. It looks like nothing's changed. But let's try and break it down, see if we can figure out any sort of rule that we might see. Okay, so this has 3 sides, this triangle. This hexagon has 6 sides. So I'm immediately thinking that the number of sides is times by 2 to get the shape in the middle. So if we look at the options, yeah. So let's see if we can times this by 2. So it'll be 4 times 2. We're going to get 8 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's actually going to make me go C straight away, but let's hold our horses. Think about what change 2 is. Change 2 is that they get a hatched, a crossed symbol. So all of them have that. And then change 3 is they get this circle outside of it, and which is grey. So that lets you cancel out a lot of these, and you're left with E or C. And like because of change 1, we go with C. Question 94. Change 1 is that we rotate it to the right, to the left, sorry. So let's rotate this to the left. We can cancel these 2 out. Change 2 is that they stay the same pattern, so we cancel out C. And change 3 is, oh, no, they stay the same pattern, it's the same one. It can't be B because the pattern isn't stayed the same. So let's go to 95. Change 1 is that this big shape is turned upside down, or what I like to call it is reflected over a horizontal line. So let's reflect this. We're going to obviously get something like this. Bosh, bosh. And we can cancel out a few of them already. We're left with A and D. Now we have to figure out what change 2 was. I mean, change 2 is the fact that it was the big shape that got reflected or turned upside down, and not the small shape. So it's likely going to be the same here, and it's not going to be this inside shape with a line in it. That's why it can't be A, and that's why we're left with D. Nice. So let's go on to the verbal reasoning now. Find the missing word. Okay, so the example is not actually the answer to here. It's sort of confusing there, but it's giving you a hint. The word here is attended. So a lot of you, if you're able to hopefully understand the instructions, which is a key skill, to be able to read the instructions, because sometimes you're going to get a new question type in the 11 plus and you won't actually know. You might not have seen it before, so you have to be able to read the instructions and understand it. What you'll find is it's basically saying there is a letter in capitals that has 3 letters taken out of it. So if we take end out of attended, you're left with ATED, atted. And that's what they've done to all of these sentences, that they've taken 3 letters out of this capital letter. So the 2 steps to figure this out is first figure out what the word is going to be. Or where do you think this is meant to be? Or this. And then figure out what letters are missing, what 3 letters are missing, or 4-letter word that is missing, which is actually an actual word, like end. So we know this is attended. So let's try and figure out what is missing. So you can see A and T are here. DED is here. The 10 was taken out. So the answer here is going to be 10. Because if we put 10 into that word, we're going to get attended. Okay, now let's figure out some of these words. So the burglar was somethinged climbing over the fence. So we have to think of words that could have these few letters in it. So it might be the burglar was stoned, stopped. The burglar was stopped climbing over the fence. So we got to this point. It doesn't actually mean we got the right word, just because it makes sense. It's only the right word if it actually has a 3-letter word in it that would also make sense. So let's see. ST, you take those out, and ED. Okay, so then you're left with op. Op isn't a word, so it can't be stopped. It has to be something else. The burglar was spotted going over the fence. Okay, let's try that. SED. Oh, and a T as well, sorry. Okay, you're left with pot. And that is a word, so the word is spotted. Okay, there is something number of stars in the sky. It's quite easy to tell that this is probably going to be infinite. Infinite number of stars in the sky. Now let's just see if it is an actual word. So IN. And then ITE. We're left with fin. Fin is a word. Shark fin. Okay, my sister goes to something in London. She's going to go to college. There you go, col and leg. So Bill went to the bank and somethinged his wages. Deposited. So let's try that. Depot and ED. You're left with sit. There you go. Those are your answers. Pot, fin, leg, and sit, and also 10. But hopefully that was useful. And these all have explanations on the website, so